This video is censored. The information on this video can only spread if you are willing to share it with others. Fair disclaimer that must be given. The link provided in the description is the link to the video from Democracy Now! That was intended to be put in here. But during the mixing, and I don't have time to fix it, I have placed in here the wrong video from Democracy Now! So I do apologize. The video I give so therefore the date that I give is the wrong date. So therefore today's headlines from Democracy Now! Are not in this video. However, today's headlines from Democracy Now! Will be in the description below. I don't really know for sure what the date of the video that you're about to see was actually published, but this is not the true headlines from Democracy Now! From today. The true headlines from Democracy Now! From today are going to be in the link in the description below. I am sorry for the mistake. Please enjoy the video and spread this video everywhere you can. Thank you. This is Comrade Net hosting this montage video for you. I do hope to get past the montage videos for these videos. That is the videos of the Bundist movement. Let's clarify right now that the Bundist movement is a channel, a newspaper channel. It's the Bundist movement, which is, we can get into what the Bundist movement, the actual Bundist political movement was again at another time, you know, like that, I'm about to ramble, just a warning ahead, because I'm trying to describe something and respond to a rumor that's going on about me. Which has to do with Mr. Nickel, an actual Mexican gangster. Now, one of the things that I'm figuring is, well, you know, there's a lot of demarchists and anarchists in Arizona that like these people. I like these people too. So if this looks like some kind of endorsement to the Mexican, to Mexican gangsters, who are primarily like basically mestizo Mexicans, they're not, because these, I should clarify that, because the Bund has championed the Mexica movement several times, which is for indigenous native Mexicans. But if you were knowing about the Mexica movement, they were for both mixed and full blood. So mestizo Mexican Catholic culture is very large in the Southwest and the West Coast. You find a lot of this in Arizona. One of the funny things about Arizona, Texas can say yada yada yada. In our Constitution, we are the only one that is able to secede from the Union. I say, ha ha ha. That's really cute. But actually, Arizona is the state that's in dispute. There are just as many people that fly the Mexican flag out here as there are people that fly the American flag. This is the state that's in dispute. Mexico still wants it back. And given the fact that Americanism and Zionism are almost indistinguishable, if I don't agree with the countries of Canada, Mexico, or the United States, but if I had to choose one for refuge, I'd go with Mexico for a lot of reasons. Anyway, I just want to warn you that a rant is coming, but I do hope you pay attention, because I'm trying to obfuscate a rumor and also show you that, yeah, I have endorsed these people. I just haven't made a big deal about it, but I think that it would be wise for Bundists in the Southwest to endorse these people. I'm going to play a video by Mr. Capone, but before I promote this video from Mr. Capone, I think that you should hear this pre-recorded rant I did trying to explain a rumor and clarify some stuff. Because I'll say this, if I see Mr. Nickel on the street, nothing but love and solidarity. If I see Lazy Dub, which I've never met, nothing but love and solidarity. And I respect Mr. Capone for the stances he takes and his willingness to hear other people and his staunch pro-Palestinian position, because none of us are free unless Palestine is free. One Holocaust does not justify another, not in our name. What was done to us, the Jewish people, should not be replicated upon the Palestinians. The state of Israel is not a Jewish state. It has no right to exist. It is the youngest settler colonial project of Britain, and it must be dismantled. Anyway, here comes the rant. Sometimes there are rumors that spread, and they spread really quickly, and they're completely baseless, or they're founded upon a misnomer. Such a rumor will be addressed here in this video. There is a rumor about me, which there's a lot of rumors about me. those that diminish me to say ComradeNet doesn't do anything of significance, or those that make it out that ComradeNet somehow is the puppet master to all these different things going on, both of which are crap. I'm not really anybody that significant, number one. Number two, well, I should probably do that in reverse. Number one, I'm not a big, yeah, number one, I'm not a, well, no, number one, I'm not, I'm more significant in the context of the activism than most people, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like me. I have stuck it in with the Boon for, from 2009 to 2019, and I still do, although I'm not seen as much anymore. And that's because I'm going to be, when I leave the activism with the Boon, I'm going to be retiring into religious work completely. I do want to provide this channel with some extra religious education, and figuring out how to do that has been kind of a struggle for me to figure out. Anyway, let's get back on the true rumors. There's a rumor that states that I'm not significant to any struggle, which is a lie. Then there's a second one, which I puppet master everything. No, I'm significant in the sense that I am involved with things, you know. And for those, and there's quite a few people in the know who are already aware, but then there's those that try to diminish it, not because of me. Those that try to diminish me don't do it for the sake of me. They do it because I'm connected to the Boond. Let's be very honest about that. So when one Boondist is slandered, it is important for other Boondists to step in and stop that slander. For those of you new to this channel, this is the Boondist movement, a newspaper channel. Boond, a Boondist is somebody that's with the, a Boondist is a Jewish person that's with the Boond. So Boondism is political Judaism. Zionism is not political Judaism. Boondism is the Jewish national liberation movement. Basically, Boondism is the Jewish national liberation movement. Zionism is not that. Zionism is a colonial ideology based on Hegelian nationalism. All right? So, let's start with the rumor that people just can't seem to let go. There are people that say that I'm associated or affiliated with or involved with Mexican gangsters. This is a very funny misnomer to me, because all that happened was in early 2023, I met Mr. Nickel. Now, Mr. Nickel is more known through his homie, Lazy Dub. This is like the real hip-hop of Arizona. If you know about that, then good. Now, here's the funny thing. All other Demarchists were aware of this, and the anarchists out here were also aware of this. I'm a Demarchist, by the way, but Comrade number 3 was aware of this. Everybody knew who Mr. Nickel was, except me. So I feel like an idiot. But let me just tell you what happened. I got lost, and I was smoking Blue Dream. If you want to know what Blue Dream is marijuana. It's a hybrid of indica and sativa marijuana. And I was just going wherever I pleased. But I got lost. And I met Mr. Nickel. Now, there's a video by Mr. Nickel called Gangsta Shit. And I will tell you from personal experience that the video Gangsta Shit by Mr. Nickel correctly and transparently does describe Mr. Nickel. So what he says about himself in that video, that's all true. He does not claim to be a Crip. He does not claim to be a Blood. He does claim to do some gangster shit, and that is true. Now, here's why I know it's true. I got lost. Mr. Nickel actually saved my life. I got lost. I had been running from some certain people. Because, you know, it's known now that I've ruffled a few feathers with certain things I've helped expose. I met Mr. Nickel, and he was literally doing gangsta shit. I will not tell you what he was doing. I'm not saying that I'm an affiliate of these people. I'm not saying that I am one of the gang, because I'm not. I'm Antifa, for one thing. If I'm with anything, I'm part of Antifa. But I told him that about me, that I I've continued to gain respect by not claiming to be that big. It's one of the reasons why I don't try to toot my own horn. And funny enough, when I show any self-respect verbally, everybody, and I do mean my closest comrades, everybody acts like I'm all egotistical. And that's because I'm cooperative. When people don't like to work with each other, I try to make them work with each other. And because I believe in cooperation, and people will often say, see, you're puppet mastering everything, which is an anti-Semitic stereotype, by the way. I don't puppet master shit. I never politically groomed anybody or any of that, although certain people did throughout 2021 and 2023 try to politically groom me. It was something that certain people did try to do, and no, Jason Unruh was not one of them. But anyway, it would seem, according to everybody who's well more cultured about Arizona than me, even though I've been here for a while, I'm not the most cultured person in Arizona because, number one, I wasn't born in the United States, and number two, I wasn't spending all of my childhood in Arizona. I mean, from basically infancy up to 10 years old, I was in Arizona. Then I was brought to Brooklyn and stayed there for all of my adolescence. Then came back out here in Arizona when I was 18, and some other things happened, which I don't want to get into. But I'm dispelling this rumor right now. I'm not some drug lord. Everybody knows, where I actually stand with, substance versus drugs and narcotics, and how I have a much more nuanced view about a lot of that stuff. But yes, Mr. Nickel is real. When I met him, he was doing gangster shit, and he got me home safely. No strings attached. I later learned about Mr. Capone. And Mr. Capone seems to be involved in a lot of that same stuff, Mexican gangsters. And he did a song on Palestine. He also does some podcasting. This podcast that I'm about to play took place on October 29th, 2023. I was there when it premiered, and I chatted into the stream. I wrote into the stream, which he does kind of encourage that. The funny thing is, if you watch this video, there will be a link in the description below to provide to this video, you'll notice that at least currently, my comment below is the one that's thumbs up the most, which I did not expect. I've only seen this in recent. One of the things that I would say is these people are more approachable than you think they are. And they're just like you and me as they're human beings. They're not like big stars. It just happens to be they're talented and their hip hop is real. So I'm going to play this video which premiered from Mr. Capone. And then I'm going to move on to something else. But there's a very important reason why we're starting this video with Mr. Capone and what he says concerning basically this pseudo-rabbi, not really rabbi, Zionist fanatic who speaks.
What's happening? Another episode of Vlogs. These are reaction clips. So as you know, this is my second one. And today, this topic, I'm going to switch it up because what I'm going to do when I get this going next year, I'm going to have all these different subjects, different things. I'm not just talking about the rap game. I'm going to talk about the streets. I'm going to talk about possibly there's more stuff. And then also what's going on, the war and all around the world and things like that. Because I feel like I got a lot knowledge and all this stuff. So why not share it and share my point of views and share what I think. And I would like to know your reactions too, and we all can build and grow together as a team. So on this note, I picked up a clip. I'm gonna do a lot of clips. So we're gonna put these clips out and different clips what I see. So as you know, right now there's a lot of things going on with Palestine and Israel going on, right? I personally can go longer and talk about this, but I feel like the media is such a liar. There's like what you see on the news is not what I see in real life, which TikTok and different places show a lot of real stuff. And there's also these little videos of kids getting hurt all the time. But every time I put the news, I don't see that. I just see a explosion and helicopter and this versus this, where I see on one side just complete destruction of kids in the hospital, no legs. It's been crazy, right? But this is not the topic. The topic is now in America population, I feel like 50% are waking up, and then still 50% are stuck to the news and whatever they do. And what really twists me out is when people of like the Christian faith, 50-50 of them, not all of them. Obviously, there's a lot of, I'm not pointing out a single person, but 50 of them say they're supporting Israel, right? Now, I know I'm not, everyone could hate on everyone's religion and say something negative about this and that, but it's just like, I see people say, yeah, if you got nothing good to say, I think really you should probably be neutral or just like quiet about it, right? But then when I'm seeing people taking sides, that kind of question me. It could be either side, right? But one side I see like a lot of hatred to this side. And I just want to get your opinion. I would like to pick your mind. So I'm gonna play this video right here. I guess he's a Jewish rabbi. And once again, like, to me, like, I can go deeper in this, and I'm not picking on the Jewish community because there's a lot of good Jews out there, and there's a lot of bad Jews, bad Muslims, good Muslims, bad Christians, good Christians. But the people who are running the program over there, there's a lot of bad ones, right? So this one, I don't know. To me, I guess he's looking like a bad one the way he's speaking, right? But hey, I don't know. Maybe they all think like that. Maybe they don't, right? But I want your opinion. This one has a headline that says, again, this Jewish rabbi is clearly saying 6 billion Christians are idol worshipers and should be unalived according to the Torah. I'm still confused. Why is the West helping these insane whatever, right? So I know why they're helping them. It's all about money. It's not even about religious people are good people. Anyone who's really religious is good. If you believe in your religion and you do it every day and you don't think about controlling and money and conquering the world, then you're a good person. The people who use a religion, but they want to conquer the world, they want to do businesses and want to do this and that, they're obviously not following their own religion, because I'm sure every religion says help your neighbor, help thy neighbor, all these things that are positive in religion. Some people are not picking up. So there's good and bad in everyone. But let's listen to this right now. And I would like to get your feedback, guys. I want to see what you guys think about this. Now listen very carefully. I might just let it go through the whole way.
You have 6 billion idol worshippers who makes God angry every second of their life. Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand. So many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many. 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that, according to the Torah, do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews. Even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
Okay. Dang. Did you hear what I heard? I heard this man, I mean, I could run it back again. I heard this man say basically everyone who's an idol worshiper basically should be unalived, should be gone. And there's some Christian people out there that love these guys. Now, get me wrong, like, I'm not like, you know, I just want to know, I know Jesus, some say, you know, Christians say that the Jewish people, and this is not like there's always good and bad people, but did that to Jesus, right? And then some people want, Jews to conquer Palestine, right? Where Jesus was born in Palestine, right? Like, it's just crazy to me. I just want to get your opinions on this. I'm already schooled in my mind, and I think I know what's up, but I like to get people's opinion why they say that. I know some people are going to say, well, it was told that once the Jewish people get it, then then Jesus will come back. But why do you want Jesus to come back. Jesus also wants you to do good. He only will come back when the evil takes over, right? When the evil takes over, then Jesus comes back, correct? So we don't want the evil to take over, at least not my lifetime, right? So I don't know. I'm gonna play one more time, let you hear what this guy is saying. This is not nothing against any religion or nothing like that. I just hear a comment, and this guy looks like he got a suit on. He's not in the jungles. Now, if I see somebody in the jungles and saying some crazy stuff or got sandals on and talking, I get it. He might be a cuckoo, maybe poor, maybe he don't have nothing to live for. You know, there's a lot of things. And even if you're poor, that doesn't mean you're not smart. But, I mean, it could be something like he's just going off, right? But this guy has a suit and tie. He's obviously walking into buildings. I would expect a little more from someone who's trying to dress properly and present himself properly. So we're going to hear one more time what he says. And not just against Christians. I guess he's talking about everyone. He said Indians. I mean, I heard a lot of people. So, yeah, let's hear it one more time, guys.
You have 6 billion idol worshippers who makes God angry every second of their life. Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand. So many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many. 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that, according to the Torah, do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews, even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
Deserves death penalty. All right. You guys heard what I said. Once again, I'm just letting you know. I just want to hear opinions. I want to know what you guys think about this. And what makes me more curious is because when this whole Palestine Israeli conflict is going on, and people are happy that Palestinian kids are getting hurt by Israeli troopers and this and that. And from what I know on the Palestinian side, they believe also, like I believe, but Palestinians believe, you know, they look at as him, he's gonna come, Jesus is gonna come back too, and they got respect for Jesus. They respect him to the highest degree, just as much as maybe Christians. I think the difference is Christians have more of a godly thing and they have more of a prophetly thing. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get your opinion, guys, and see what you guys got to say about it. Another episode, I'm going to do more of these. I'm new at this, so I'm not the best at it. But, hey, I know something and what I see and go, ooh, let me talk about it. And let me see what people say about this, right? I got to know. You got to tell me what you think so I know I can feel your mind and I can read your mind. You know what I'm saying? All right, then. You guys have a good one. Another episode of Reactions, not vlogs, Reactions. Your homie, Mr. Capone. And I got love for everybody, as long as you have a good heart. But if you got that evil heart, nah, I ain't got love for you.
For this next video, we will turn to the leaders of our generation, Neturei Karta, the Jewish group that actually has the Mazorah, meaning that they are the only actual religious authority of the Jewish people today, as they represent the unbroken chain back to Moses. No other group does. So, I'd like to clarify that when Jewish people speak of Satan, it's a figure of expression, but it's also like there is a concept of the Satan or the adversary in Judaism. But there's also different kinds of Satans because the word Satan or Shaktan in Hebrew doesn't necessarily refer to any central one figure. Ha-Shaktan refers to the adversary, and this is often translated as Satan. But also, there's the Yetzer Hara, or the other side, the evil inclination, which is often translated as Satan. So there's other words that the word Satan can come from. This is why I've always said Satan's kind of a phantom, and the devil doesn't exist necessarily. I don't care if anybody's offended by his use of terming Satanism, or using the word or using the word satanic the way that the rabbi does, because let's be real here. Satanism is actually just an anti-religion movement. And if you're in an anti-religion movement or you're a militant in atheism, you're a bigot. That's bigotry. Sorry. Hating religiosity is no different than hating sexual orientation. There's just no way around that. Okay. And one of the and the fact that Marxists and anarchists both alike cannot universally accept that means that Marxism and anarchism kind of has to be seen as outdated and not having the full facts. And of course, coming from Eurocentric backgrounds, and no matter what color you are, if you adopt that, you're impressing that that colonialism upon yourself and then on to others. So this is why Demarchist theory is just better. But anyway. It's also important to understand that Neteria Karta International doesn't really think about politics. They think about being Jewish people. And so they follow the Torah culture better than most. And like I said, they have the Mizora. Neteria Karta speaks for the Jewish nation, whether we want to believe that or not. Particularly, they speak for the religious observance. The Jewish nation is a cultural, religious group. And therefore, this diaspora nation is not based on ethnicity, nor is it based on race. It's based on a cultural religion. So, from the most observant to the non-observant, to those that believe in Hashem, to those that don't believe in Hashem, you're still grafted into the Torah culture, and that's how it works. To be Jewish, your mother has to be Jewish, or you convert to Orthodox Judaism. There are no other ways of becoming Jewish. When you step outside of what I just said, then you enter into the realm of opinion. So when I say to be Jewish, either you convert to Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, or your mother's Jewish. There are no exceptions to that. Anything else is somebody speaking for themselves. Now you don't exactly have to be Jewish to have Jewishness, so that gets into another factor. But anyway, Rabbi Yisrael David Weiss from Neteria Karta International speaking at Rally for Gaza in Boston, Massachusetts on February 4th, 2024. And please listen to what he has to say very deeply and very intently as he speaks for the Jewish diaspora nation, and the state of Israel is not Jewish. I will teach you a little Hebrew, like actual Hebrew right now before we play this. Ha Medinat ve lo Yisrael. I'll say that again. Ha Medinat ve lo Yisrael. The state is not Israel.
With the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may be worthy of conveying His message, and so, inshallah, bring peace to the world and sanctify His name. Assalamu alaikum. I don't have the privilege to come to Boston often. I live in New York. But we're here. But unfortunately, it's a very sad time to come. Nobody would have dreamed, nobody would have thought it's possible, that it's humanly possible, that we could be going so many days, day after day, day after day. We're holding by 4 months. This is unbelievable. It's inhumane. It's something that's ungodly. Murder, mass murder. What we are seeing that is being perpetrated by people that are called human beings, people that happen to be claiming what they are doing, the Zionist state of Israel, claiming to be doing something in the name of God. Their flag has a symbol of religion on it. They claim they're speaking in the name of a religion, of a godliness, and every single day they reveal to the world what this is really. It's a demon, it's the Satan, it's not godliness. Murder, mass murder, torture, oppression beyond words. And yet that flag flies, and in many communities here in the U.S., government entities, town halls, wave that flag in support. They pass laws Our United States of America gives money in the billions of dollars, and they didn't stop, but on the contrary, they tried to push through to give another bunch of billions of dollars. How could we stoop and be silent when this mass murder, this ungodliness is going on continually? We as Jews around the world, and I'm including my brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Al-Quds in Jerusalem, we are hurting, we are crying, we are frustrated, we are humiliated, we cannot be silent, we aren't silent. Many of my brothers and sisters constantly go out. We have demonstrations. I don't know if you've seen some video clips going viral of Jewish people, religious people demonstrating in Jerusalem and being viciously attacked.
Yeah.
And why is this happening? Because what they're saying is truth. They're not coming with some type of ideology. They're not coming with some type of surprising element what the Zionist wants to disparage as fringe Judaism. No, what they're coming is saying the pure facts of what Judaism is. Judaism is subservience to God, a religion of 3,000 years. And Zionism, this movement, nobody can refute that it is a mere 100-odd years. It's not more than that. How dare they speak in the name of a stolen religion? How dare they speak in the name of Judaism? It's a fact. It's a fact that in Europe, when this movement of Zionism began, all the rabbinical authorities stood up in vehement opposition. They said, these are a bunch of heretics. Who are they? What are they? Theodor Herzl, somebody who declared that the solution is that Jews should convert out of their religion with music and pride in Vienna. He wrote this in his diary. Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, Zev Jabotinsky, the revisionist head, Begin's mentor, wrote in the Haaretz magazines in the 20s, he wrote that Jews who have beards and earlocks should be second-class citizens and not have a right to vote in that state that they're going to create. These are facts on the ground. These are written. They were not ashamed of what they held. They weren't trying to create a religious state. They were not trying to do something for God. They had a selfish plan of nationalism. And they simply, after a while, when they saw they needed massive support, they masqueraded themselves in my religion, in Judaism. They put on this holy facade, and then they went, and anything that stood in the way of their creation, of their national home, they murdered, they sacrificed on their altar of their nationalism, of their Zionism. It's not only since 1948. Who's talking about October 7th? We're talking in 1948. But way before then, since the Balfour Declaration, they've been slaughtering, they've been killing, they've been occupying, they've been oppressing the people, the Palestinian people. I carry around always some documents and pictures. Anybody goes to NKUSA, you can see how the Jewish people are being oppressed, assassinated since the beginning of Zionism because they stood in opposition to their creation of the Zionist state of Israel from day one. And the chief rabbi of the Jewish community in Palestine, Rabbi Dushinsky, in 1948 pleaded with the United Nations. And he said, I'm quoting him, "We furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine." This was the head of the Jewish community. I apologize, it was in 1947. July 16, 1947, he pleaded with stands daily in the streets of Al-Quds of Jerusalem and other parts of the occupied land and pleads with the world, hear the voices of Jews who are true to our religion of 3,000 years and ignore the voice of these killers, of these thieves, of these counterfeiters who have stolen a name. But the Satan is very powerful, and the Satan is successful. God knows why the Almighty gives them this power. But what they're doing is satanic. It's not holy. It's not Jewish. It has nothing to do with righteousness, with humanity. It has to do with the evil. It is pure evil. This occupation is pure evil. How dare they use the name of Judaism, the name that our grandparents, my grandparents died in Auschwitz, our generations for 2,000 years died to uphold this religion. How dare they take this beautiful religion and use it to kill and to murder and maim and to occupy? We will not be silent. They can say what they want, but any community around the world, whether it's in Argentina or in Canada or here in the U.S. or in Al-Quds, Jerusalem, the very religious communities, the ones that are true to Judaism, stands in a total vehement opposition to the existence, to the mere existence of the Zionist state of Israel. It is politically incorrect. Oh yes, it is politically incorrect, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Zionism is not Judaism. Zionism is a nationalism of 100-odd years, a selfish occupation, a selfish, evil occupation that has no justification, no legitimacy, not in humanity and not in spirituality, not according to the Torah. They have no connection to Judaism. Understand that and stand up and do not be intimidated. You are not anti-Semitic by speaking up against the occupation. On the contrary, supporting Zionism is a simple, logical creation of anti-Semitism, because people start hating Jews because of the evils of these Zionists. They look at Jews, they don't understand to differentiate between this holy religion. What the religion, it says, Mahu Rachum Afatu Rachum, just as God is compassionate, you must be compassionate. Or as it says in the Torah, do not steal, do not kill. The Torah is clear that this concept of the Zionist state of Israel is unacceptable, is verboten, is forbidden. The Torah is very clear, and Jews true to the Torah from one corner of the earth to the other stands in opposition. Yes, the Jewish people are intimidated. We are killed. We are silenced. But we're there, and we're here together with the people of Palestine, of Gaza. We are hurting, we are crying, and we will not be silent. My colleague is 8th generation Palestinian who's standing here. His grandparents picked themselves up by the 67 war, and they said, we cannot remain under this occupation. So they moved out. They didn't know a word of English, and they came, and they really had a hard time of it with 5 children. But they came and they moved out. There's tens of thousands of others. As the chief rabbi of Palestine, Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum, moved away and held court as chief rabbi of Palestine from the streets of New York. And he urged his followers, he said, move away. Do not be there with them, because somehow you may be supporting them. Somehow it will look like it has legitimacy. Of course, many people couldn't move out. United States, Canada, all these countries, the UK, they don't allow us to come. It's very hard, as anybody and everybody knows, to get citizenship, to move. So we have tens and hundreds of thousands and more living in the occupation, but they're there and they're fighting from within. are crying and hurting with the people of Gaza till Gaza will be free.
We know. Don't worry, we know.
So many beautiful and eloquent speakers. I came just before and I heard how they spoke. I'm sure none of us can really speak even enough to eulogize one beautiful person who was killed in Gaza. But so many people have eloquently spoke about what's happening there. And we all know because we are all watching and hurting. So I can't really spend the time here to speak about that in the cold. But I just want you to hear and know that as Jews, and because we are Jews, we will continually pray to the Almighty to bring a speedy and God help peaceful removal in the entire occupation, and we will continue to stand up together, and God will help. Inshallah, He with His kindness will bring an end to this occupation sooner nowadays. Inshallah, assalamu alaikum. What's that? Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go. Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go.
End the occupation now! End the occupation now! Woo!
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Zionism no more.
Zionism no more.
5, 6, 7, 8.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Israel is not a Jewish state.
Israel is not a Jewish state.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Israel no more.
Israel no more.
5, 6, 7, 8.
5, 6, 7, 8.
And the killing and the hate.
And the killing and the hate.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Zionism no more.
Zionism no more.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Got us, you got us. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for.
Okay, now we're going to go to today's headlines from Democracy Now!
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
The United Nations Security Council has, for the third time this week, postponed a vote on a resolution calling for a halt to the fighting in Gaza and for Israel to allow shipments of food, water, fuel and medicine into the besieged territory. Several Security Council members have expressed frustration with the United States for repeatedly delaying votes and for threatening to once again veto any resolution.
We're joined now by Phyllis Bennis, fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies, serves as an international advisor for Jewish Voice for Peace. Phyllis has written a number of books, including Understanding the Palestinian-Israeli Conflict. Her recent piece for In These Times headlined The Christmas Truce of 1914 and the Demand for a Ceasefire in Gaza. As we went to air today, Phyllis, there is no resolution at this point at the UN. One is expected today, but we said that Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. If you can talk about what's going on there, and then we can talk about that Christmas truce as we move into the weekend.
This is, in some ways, a very old story. The United States refuses to accept a globally demanded ceasefire in the context of Israeli assaults, particularly on Gaza. And we've seen it before, we're seeing it again now. The U.S. is refusing to allow the term cessation of hostilities. They certainly will not allow the term ceasefire to be used. They want to talk about a suspension of hostilities, meaning just a temporary pause like we saw 2 weeks ago, to allow in a certain amount of aid, reduce the pressure on Israel, get some of the hostages released, and then go back to the Israeli assault and kill more thousands of Palestinians, presumably. So what we're looking at is the question of whether the other members of the Security Council will be able to persuade the U.S., and I think this is very doubtful, to change their position and allow decent language about a real cessation of hostilities or a ceasefire. And if they don't, will the Council go ahead and force the United States to use its veto, something the U.S. does not like to do, or will it essentially collapse under its own pressure and simply withdraw the resolution and say, well, we couldn't get the U.S. on board, so we're not going to go forward? The issue then becomes whether you're letting the U.S. off the hook by saying we will simply, we'll simply withdraw the resolution, or do you force the U.S. to use its veto, which then has consequences, including sending the resolution off to the General Assembly, where it passes under very particular conditions that can make it much more influential and, by some arguments by legal scholars, perhaps enforceable, like a Security Council resolution would be. So that's where the Council is right now.
And Phyllis, so if you could explain that, because normally a General Assembly vote is not legally binding in the way that a Security Council vote is, which is why there's so much emphasis on what the Security Council does.
The particularity here, Nermeen, is that when the U.S. or any other of the 5 permanent members of the Council actually uses a veto, a new regulation at the UN that was passed a couple of years ago requires that the General Assembly then meet within 10 days to take up that same issue. You know, ordinarily this is very closely held. The Security Council deals with threats to peace and security around the world. The General Assembly can deal with everything else. But when one of the 5 permanent members, in this case, of course, the United States, uses its veto on an issue of peace and security, under those conditions, the General Assembly is required to hold an emergency session, and it's held under what's known in the UN as the Uniting for Peace precedent. This was something the UN was forced to accept back in 1951 at the instigation, ironically, of the United States. It's how the U.S. got the United Nations to endorse its war in Korea. And under those conditions, the decisions made by the General Assembly, which officially are considered non-binding, not enforceable, take on additional power because it's derivative of United Nations Security Council power. So the decisions are uncertain whether it's really enforceable, but it's a much stronger resolution in the General Assembly if it follows a veto in the Security Council. That's one of the big reasons why the United States does not like to use its veto if it can avoid it. The other reason, of course, is that it shows the world just how isolated the United States now is. The U.S. and Israel stand alone. The vote in the General Assembly on a very similar resolution was 153 countries out of 193 who voted yes, and only 10 countries, including the U.S. and Israel, voted no. And under those circumstances, it really demonstrates the isolation of the U.S., and that's not something that the Biden administration is eager to be showing up again.
Well, if you could say, Phyllis, I mean, talk about the significance of U.S. support. Explain why it's so strident, despite what's happening in Gaza, and also the fact that when Biden did lightly criticize Israel for its indiscriminate bombardment, saying that it was losing international support, the Israeli foreign minister very quickly said that Israel would continue, quote, with or without international support. Your response to that, I mean, is that accurate, you think?
Right. Well, I think what is true is that the United States has made a number of polite requests of the Israeli government. They have said, please stop killing so many people. What you're doing is okay. Using massive bombardment is okay. But try and pull back a little bit, maybe change the tactics of the ground invasion so that you're not killing quite so many civilians. It doesn't look good. But there are no consequences when the Israeli response, as you just said from Prime Minister Netanyahu or others, is simply, no, we're going to continue what we're doing. There's no way that Israel feels compelled to respond to that until the requests become requirements. And the requirements come with conditions that make a difference. So that when the United States says, you've got to stop bombing Gaza, you're killing civilians and it's illegal under international law, you've got to stop. And Israel says, nope, we're going to continue. Then the next sentence out of the mouth of President Biden or Secretary of State Blinken or whoever is relaying that message is, okay, then you know those billions of dollars we send to your military every year? You can kiss that goodbye. And you know how we've been protecting you at the International Criminal Court so you're never held accountable for war crimes? We're not doing that anymore. So those are the kinds of things that will begin to have a real impact on Israel. As long as the Israelis are clear that the Biden position of what we might call bear hug diplomacy, where the symbolism of his embrace physically and politically of Netanyahu and the Israeli state is, we have your back, we will protect you no matter what, but please make a few amendments. They have no reason to take that seriously because the U.S. doesn't express it seriously.
I want to turn to U.S. Secretary of State Tony Blinken speaking Wednesday in D.C. at a State Department briefing.
I hear virtually no one saying, demanding of Hamas that it stop hiding behind civilians, that it lay down its arms, that it surrender. This is over tomorrow if Hamas does that. This would have been over a month ago, 6 weeks ago, if Hamas had done that. And how can it be that there are no demands made of the aggressor and only demands made of the victim?
Phyllis Bennis, your response.
You know, it's ironic that the Secretary of State of Israel's biggest supporter, the provider of 20% of its entire military budget, among other things, will move forward to say that there's the need for the people of Gaza, because this war is against the people of Gaza. It is not just against Hamas. That's simply not the case. The notion that the U.S. is saying that the demand should be made on Hamas, when it's been the United States backing of Israel that has allowed Israel to impose a siege on Gaza for 17 years. We should be clear, this siege did not begin on October 7th. It was escalated after the atrocities that were committed on October 7th, for sure. But this had been going on for 17 years, harshly enough that 20% of all children in Gaza were stunted by the age of 2 because they could not get sufficient food necessary for children to thrive. That was way before October 7th. So we have to look at this in the context of the ongoing war that Israel has been waging in Gaza, against the people of Palestine. And it's a war that has become genocidal in its impact. So this notion that Secretary of State Blinken, who is desperately trying to divert the focus of U.S. outrage, global outrage at Israel and at the United States for enabling the Israeli war crimes to continue, he's using every possibility that he can. The negotiations are underway between Israel and Hamas in Cairo, with Egypt and Qatar as interlocutors. There's other negotiations underway, of course, at the United Nations, as we've been discussing. But the bottom line is that Israel has killed 20,000 people, 70% of them, children and women, and that doesn't even count the thousands of people that have been killed under the rubble when Israeli bombs have destroyed buildings and homes over people's bodies. So we're looking at something that has never happened at this scale in this century. And that has to be our focus. That's why we need a ceasefire. You're not going to be able to protect the hostages and bring them home without a ceasefire. You're not going to be able to bring in sufficient aid to make it possible to stop what is now real starvation in Gaza. We have not seen that before, even under the siege. We have not seen actual starvation, and now the the United Nations World Food Program is saying that more than half of the families in Gaza are starving, and that 90% are food insecure. That doesn't exist anywhere in the world right now, where 50% of a population is starving. And that's what has to stop. And that's why we need a ceasefire, to end those realities.
And finally, Phyllis, we just have a minute. If you could respond to the New York Times Siena poll that was released earlier this week, where it's clear that the majority of Americans are opposed to the Biden administration's policy, but in a perplexing finding, a number of them say that they would, in the 2024 election, vote for Trump instead as a result.
I can't explain it. I don't know exactly what the question was that they asked, and that's always a key part of how they get answers like this. But I think what's key is the first thing you said, Nermeen. There is massive opposition in this country to what the Biden administration is doing. 80% of Democrats, President Biden's own party, want a ceasefire now. We're seeing massive opposition within the State Department, within the White House. The White House interns, these young, ambitious students, high school and college students, the youngest of the federal workforce, came out publicly and said, we are not the leaders of today, but we aspire to lead in the future, and we cannot stand by and watch this genocide being perpetuated by Israel with our support. That's extraordinary. That's never been seen before in this country. And that's why we say that not only is the U.S. isolated at the United Nations, but the Biden administration on this issue is massively isolated within the United States itself.
Phyllis Bennis, I want to thank you for being with us, fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies, international advisor for Jewish Voice for Peace. We'll link to your new piece in These Times, The Christmas Truce of 1914 and the Demand for a Ceasefire in Gaza. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give.
Now we're going to go to breaking points. This video came out on the date of February 4th, 2024. I will have some afterthought to give after this video.
I never found my people, I never found my place. And finally, I landed and I found my friends. And being here in Israel is just a life-changing experience to finally land where I was supposed to be always.
The people, the experiences, and just like the joy that we had on this trip, I'm gonna cry. It's like I've never had such a meaningful yet fun experience in my entire life, ever.
Founded in 1994 by Charles Bronfman and Michael Steinhardt in cooperation with the Israeli government, Birthright Israel, or simply Birthright, is a free 10-day heritage trip to Israel, Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights for young adults of Jewish heritage between the ages of 18 and 26. The purpose being to strengthen diaspora Jews' connection to Israel and increase a sense of Jewish identity. But can a free trip really be free?
A 10-day trip to Israel with flights, food, and a ton of Instagrammable moments. All for free? You may have heard of Birthright Israel, the all-expense-paid adventure to the Holy Land. Seems too good to be true, right? There has to be a catch. But there isn't one. You're not going to be roped into long, boring religious seminars or be told what to think about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
And If Not Now is targeting Birthright in a campaign urging the group to, in its words, tell the truth about the Israeli occupation.
Not to learn about Israel, you have to learn about Palestine. This is my country. I'm a Jew. This is my country, and I'm not living anywhere. No Palestinian is going to send me away from here.
They specifically banned trip organizers from planning trips that involve meeting with Israeli Arabs.
There's a group of us on this trip. We've been asking questions and trying to engage, and we have not been able to do that. And as a result, the 5 of us will be leaving.
Birthright and what it does by refusing to discuss, show the occupation, or even allow us to hear from Palestinians, what it's really doing is hiding the occupation from young American Jews like myself.
Birthright is funded in large part by the Israeli government, along with support from influential donors like the Adelson, Blavatnik, and Kraft families of the world. And with such significant backing from Israel and organizations known for their deep ties to Zionism, one has to wonder whether the experiences of young Jewish adults on Birthright trips are shaped more by the vision of these benefactors than by a neutral exploration of Israel and of the Jewish heritage and identity.
So Birthright in name alone is fucked. Like, it's really problematic, right? Because what it's essentially saying is that these diaspora Jewish youth who have never been to Israel, who may have no family in Israel, have no genetic or ancestral ties to Israel, can decide to go on a trip that says this place is your right by birth. You deserve to be here. You are welcome back. Meanwhile, Palestinians who have been displaced from the land that is currently occupied have no right of return.
Joining us today to provide her insights and perspectives about birthright is Katie Bogan. She is a doctoral student in clinical psychology at the University of Nebraska and a prominent voice in the anti-Zionist Jewish community. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here.
All right, so I think the first place that I want to start is maybe your upbringing as it relates to Judaism, Zionism. How were you raised? What ideas, values, beliefs did your parents try to instill in you, just as a baseline?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor. My grandfather Stosh and his sisters Helen and Bella survived the Holocaust, but they were the only 3 people in their family to do so. And they were liberated in 1945 and then spent several years in Germany before migrating to the United States in 1949. And so even during that migration process, my grandfather and Helen were given the option to settle either in the United States or to receive a plot of land and a stipend and move to Israel. And they chose the United States because they had community already here. So it is sort of by the flip of a coin and by a decision made, in 1949 that I am here instead of in Israel. And when I was growing up, my family is an incredibly Zionist family. They really imagined the state of Israel as this land that offered salvation to my grandfather and his siblings after a deep, immense trauma. And so I grew up hearing, as many Jewish youth do in the United States, at every Passover Seder, next year in Israel, that really strengthened my tie to this imagined savior space of Israel, this glittering land where I would never have to face any anti-Semitism. So Israel existed to me absent the construct of Palestine until I was about 18. And that is when my Zionist unlearning process began, and I started to build my more liberatory pro-Palestine politic.
So that leads to my next question, which is, what did you know about Israel, about Palestine prior to going on Birthright? It sounds like you did some exploration beforehand.
Oh, absolutely. I had friends and family who had begun going on Birthright when I was about 16 or 17. And then I started college and learned about Palestine as an occupied land and an occupied state. And I started asking the question to folks who were returning from Birthright, what did you learn about Palestine while you were there? And I remember one of my close loved ones, who I know is sort of a solid progressive, came home and said, "Oh, do you mean the terrorists?" And that gave me such pause. I had never heard her use language like that before. And I said, no, that's certainly not what I meant. So before I went on Birthright, I wanted to make sure that I had a solid foundational working knowledge, at least of the region. And I also wanted that learning to be balanced. So I took 4 different courses on relevant topics: suffering and evil in the Jewish experience, Jewish tradition, Middle East politics, and Arab-Israeli conflict. And these were 4 university level courses. And I was also studying to get a BA in political science with a focus on comparative politics. So I took other coursework on apartheid systems and heard, the comparisons between Israel and South Africa. And so by the time I finished my college coursework and was prepared to go on Birthright, I already was staunchly pro-Palestine. I had been in the human rights literature, in the genocide and apartheid literature enough to know where my values stood on this topic. So I went on Birthright very prepared to rabble-rouse, and rouse-rabble I did.
Right. Well, so what was your experience like? What did you see there? What conversations were had? I have seen some reports, testimonies of people who spoke out against their trip leaders, and sometimes they were dismissed, kicked off the trip. So what did you do to try to challenge the endorsed narrative on your trip? It sounds like that's something that you did.
Yes, I tried to approach with a lot of pointed curiosity. My tour guide was a veteran of the Second Lebanon War and claimed objectivity. And his name was Ayal, and he would always talk about how he was sort of an objective commentator on the politics between Israel and Palestine. And so I would ask, how does your role as a veteran impact that objectivity? Can you talk about the water crisis? Why is it that Israel has this world famous desalination technology and can access clean water, and they're not sharing that technology with Gaza, who is isolated on this strip? Can you talk about settlements? How are Israelis justifying settlements in the West Bank when Palestinians live on so little land? And then even when we were on this trip, there were these kind of sleight of hand distraction tactics where we'd be on the bus and they would say, if you look out the right side of the bus, you'll see these beautiful groves and orchards. And I would immediately go to the left side of the bus and see what they didn't want us to acknowledge. And those were essentially the shanty towns that Arab Israelis were forced to live in, these really impoverished regions that they just didn't want us to recognize because it was a visual representation of the inequity that is worked into Israeli society and sort of the way they treat Arab Israelis or non-Jewish Israelis.
I'm curious, when you did bring some of these things up to the trip leaders, what would they say?
I got a similar, oh, you mean the terrorists, or oh, Hamas response. And that's, I think, something that actually made me quite angry and frustrated when I was on the trip. And I said to Ayal in front of some other people, you have a group of impressionable young adults, 18 to 26-year-old adults, who are hearing you repeatedly make the comparison between Palestinian civilians and terrorists, Palestinian civilians and Hamas, which is one small representative group, not the whole of Palestine. And he would sort of get defensive and try to pivot or talk about something else and sort of wave me away as a rabble rouser, and tried to speak to me on the trip one-on-one several times about sort of where I had learned the information that I was sharing with other students. And I talked about my coursework with him. And afterwards, he reached out to me trying to encourage me to make Aliyah and to become an Israeli citizen. It's like, you're a critical thinker. You clearly care very much about politics. Essentially, we could use you. Come join us. And all of this more political discourse isn't even getting at the subtle eugenics and military mission, it seems to me, of birthright trips. When we go on these trips, there are a group of Israeli soldiers who join us. They pick like the sexiest, most alluring, like young, hot soldiers to come on this trip with you, and then wind up having these machinations so that these Jewish diaspora youth can spend time alone with these sexy Israeli soldiers. And they'll say, maybe you all will fall in love on this trip. Maybe you'll meet your soulmate. And I remember even on the trip that I attended, there were two Israeli soldiers who clearly were into each other. Like they very much had a vibe. And someone made a joke on the trip, one of their fellow soldiers saying, you have to save yourselves for the Americans, basically clarifying that they were there to seduce us, not only, literally, physically, emotionally, but seduce us into kind of the sexy, glittering promise of the state of Israel and of Zionism.
I haven't heard of that situation. It didn't come up in the research I did or in the promo video for Birthright. So you're saying part of the mission, because one of the questions I was going to ask is, Birthright is in part funded by Israel, but it's also in large part funded by these Zionist organizations and wealthy families in the U.S. So part of, what do you think the true objectives are of the people who fund this trip? What are they trying to accomplish, in addition to maybe what you alluded to, which is making or encouraging Americans to move to Israel?
Yeah, well, I think some of the goals of the trip are revealed by the age limits. The lower age limit for attending is 18, and the upper age limit is 26. These are people who are likely reproductively viable, who would have plenty of time to fall in love with an Israeli, get married, and have babies, who are likely of an age bracket where they are able to commit to conscripted service and will be able to serve with their bodies for the Israeli occupation force. I will not call it the IDF. I'm sorry, I can't do that. And I really think if this were about sharing Jewish culture and just having people make Aliyah and building the population of Israel, there wouldn't be the stringent age limit that there is. And there's a limit for going on birthright if you've been to Israel before for any longer than 3 months. So not only do they want these young people to go who could get married and make Jewish babies, or who could, provide service to the IOF, but they want folks to not have a significant background on the state of Israel or to have spent much time there before they attend, which I think also speaks to the potential brainwashing, like the socialization effort that is being made by these Zionist organizations and funders.
Yeah, that's disturbing to hear. And I want to try to give a balanced perspective. Were there positive parts of the trip?
Absolutely. I think in terms of connecting me to my faith as a Jewish person and to my religion as a Jewish person, it was stunning. My father is a single father. My mom is Irish Catholic, but my dad is Jewish. And my dad raised me as Jewish from being a small child. But because I grew up in a Hasidic Chabad and my Jewish lineage is patrilineal, I wasn't able to convert. And the Chabad was fairly conservative in terms of its gender politics and didn't feel like a good match for me. So I didn't have a bat mitzvah when I was growing up. And when I was on birthright, they provided everyone on the trip the opportunity to have a b'nai mitzvah. So I wound up being bat mitzvahed at the wall in Jerusalem, having this beautiful spiritual experience and crying with other folks who were making their conversion process more official. And that was a profound, heady experience of just this is my transition to Jewish adulthood. And now I have committed to being a Jewish woman for my life.
Yeah, I think this is really important to discuss. And I do want to touch, I know we've touched on it lightly, anti-Semitism that you brought up, because I think it is a very real thing, not only in the US, but all over the world. Although I do think there is a little bit of danger in that term is being thrown around, I think, a little too haphazardly right now to mean much. If anything, it's in danger of kind of just meaning nothing. So I'm wondering what your personal, I know you touched on it when you were a kid, but what has been your personal experience with anti-Semitism, and what do you think should actually be done to combat it?
Yeah. Well, one example is when I was living in Rhode Island, I spent a lot of time as a grassroots organizer with the group Never Again Action, which is a Jewish youth group, community organizing group meant to prevent any kind of identity-based violence. And so I was protesting ICE detention facilities in Rhode Island. I was at counter protests against the Proud Boys when they came to Rhode Island. And the starkest experience of anti-Semitism I ever had was members of the Proud Boys sharing my contact information on Stormfront, the White Pride Worldwide website, and doxing me. So they called my cell phone and told me that they were going to come to my home. They had my home address. I had to, contact police and have a patrol car on my street for several days because the threats were legitimate and threats to safety. And I think there's a conflation happening here between the violence of language and actual threats to safety. I don't believe that the statement from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is inherently violent. That to me implies a right of return, full humanity and enfranchisement as political actors for Palestinians who choose to return to their homeland, a secular state where folks can exist with equal rights regardless of their religion and regardless of their ethnic background, and a deconstruction of ethno-nationalism in Israel-Palestine. That to me is a beautiful mission. It is not a threat of violence.
Yeah, before we go, I want to try to do maybe a little thought experiment. If you could try to strawman for us the Israeli perspective. Specifically, I know that you're a huge advocate for the LGBTQ community. So one of the arguments that I've heard a lot is they, meaning Hamas, or you could argue Palestine or the Arab world in general, they're religious extremists. Israel, we're the ones that want peace, but every time we've offered peace, they refuse. We are the only liberal democracy in the Middle East. If you, as a queer person, try to go to Gaza, or what was, I guess, once Gaza, you'd be persecuted. So despite all of these civilian deaths, you'd be a fool not to support Israel. What are your thoughts about this particular argument? Is there a case to be made here?
No. I think the argument is absurd. So first of all, that wholesale erases the safe existence of queer Palestinians and queer Gazans. There are absolutely Palestinian organizers who are queer and who are advocating for the liberation of queer community. And if you are in a position where you are being mass murdered, where you are being exterminated, and you are fighting for your life, what space do you have, cognitively, emotionally, or literally, to advocate for queer liberation? I also think Israel is not a liberal democracy. It's an ethno-nationalist state. There are citizens there who do not have the same rights because of their race, ethnicity, and the way that they're born. There have been efforts, eugenics efforts in Israel to stop, for example, Ethiopian Jews from reproducing, and this was admitted by the Israeli Minister of Health in 2014. Any of those behaviors stop Israel from really being considered a legitimate liberal democracy. And I do think this concern of if we allow Palestinians the right of return, or if we come to the table and try to negotiate, they're going to want to wipe all of us out. That is projection, because we did that. Because Jews and Zionists and Israelis came to Palestine and exiled 700,000 people and have slowly been enacting violence. And we are worried about retribution. People are concerned that they will do to us what we did to them. There's been this sort of post-Holocaust embodied violence of do unto others what has been done to you. And that, I think, really takes Israel off the table as a liberal democracy, and this argument that Palestine is the aggressor off the table as well.
That's, I think, a compelling argument. And I just want to thank you for sharing your perspective. I learned a lot in this short conversation. So for those who want or are interested in hearing more of your perspective, where can people find you?
Yes, absolutely. So I am on Instagram at k.w.bogan, just first initial, middle initial, last name. And I'm on TikTok as @sexualityscholar. My academic research is on sexual functioning outcomes among survivors of sexual abuse and trauma. So if you're interested in my work there, I would say follow me on Sexuality Scholar, but I talk about my pro-Palestine politic and being sort of Zionist critical on both platforms.
All right, everybody go follow Katie. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your perspectives with us today.
Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you.
That is it for me this week. I hope this conversation was as helpful and informative for you as it has been for me. If you enjoyed it, I highly encourage you to check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel, 5149 with James Lee. Of course, keep on tuning into Breaking Points, and as always, thank you so much for your time today.
I should clarify that to be Jewish, your mother is Jewish, or you have converted to Orthodox Judaism. And it is only through Orthodox Judaism that, your conversion would actually be legitimate. But another thing here is this. So this woman wouldn't be Jewish. She would have Jewishness. And I'm not speaking in any sense of disenfranchisement. Judaism is a cultural religion, and Jewishness has more to do with Jewish consciousness. However, just because you have Jewish consciousness doesn't actually make you Jewish. That's another factor here. Now, some would say, what about those mothers who never were able to convert to Judaism, but they raised their children as Jewish? Are they Jewish? I would say yes, but this gets into the need for revolutionary Orthodox Judaism. The subjects of revolutionary Orthodox Judaism and revolutionary Judaism and Jewish renewal are subjects that I do have to bring up on this channel at some point. I've realized I cannot avoid that. How to actually package that for everybody, I am not yet sure. But when I retire from the boon completely, that's very much what I'm going to be dealing with, is things like that. So you can see a very centrist nuance with this woman who spoke, and not very educational on the actual characteristics of the Jewish nation, which is a diaspora nation. Anyway, so with all that said, let's go to TRT World. This came out on January 25th, 2024. Ha-Medinat lo Yisrael. The state is not Israel.
אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
But there is no humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip.
אם רק היה יכול. לעומת זה צה"ל פועל בדרך המוסרית ביותר. הוא עושה הכל כדי להימנע
פגיעה באזרחים.
People can't understand why so many civilians have to die in this process. Are you inflicting here collective punishment on the people of Palestine?
Not a single civilian has to die.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Başı Netanyahu olmak üzere ona destek verenler de dahil. Bunlar suçludur. Bunlar terörün yardakçısı olarak teröristtir ve bunlar Lahey Adalet Divanı'nda kesinlikle yargılanacaklar.
So the message is clear: they must cease, they must desist from the acts of genocide.
On October 1, 1946, the verdict was announced at the Nuremberg trials, where the Nazis were under trial after World War II.
There were 4 counts: the conspiracy, crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity.
The tribunal sentences you to death by hanging. Death by hanging. Death by hanging.
This decision was the first precedent issued by an international court on war crimes and genocide after the World War II. Unfortunately, genocide and war crimes continued to be committed around the world. What happened in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in the heart of Europe, between 1992 and 1995 was brought to the International Criminal Court, specially established within the UN.
The Chamber finds Ratko Mladic guilty as a member of various joint criminal enterprises of the following counts: genocide, persecution, extermination, murder, deportation, the inhumane act of forcible transfer, a crime against humanity, unlawful attacks on civilians, a violation of the laws or customs of war. Mr. Mladic, sit.
Stop, please. Please sit down.
After this court, the International Criminal Court in The Hague, Netherlands, started its work on genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity in 2003. The fact that almost all of the 51 defendants who have appeared in the court, so far 49 of which are Africans, has caused the impartiality of the court to be questioned. The court had to wait till 2021 to put the Palestine issue on the agenda, even after they announced their intention to investigate the Palestine issue in 2014. Even though Israel rejected ICC membership, Palestine is a member of ICC, which means genocide and war crimes committed in Palestinian territory can be subject to court.
Today I announce that following a thorough, independent and objective assessment of all reliable information available to my office, the preliminary examination into the situation in Palestine has concluded with the determination that all the statutory criteria under the Rome Statute for the opening of an investigation have been met.
When the ICC investigates Israel for fake war crimes, this is pure anti-Semitism. Pure anti-Semitism.
The investigation drew a reaction from the US, which resulted in a visa restriction for court members.
We firmly oppose and are disappointed by the ICC prosecutor's announcement of an investigation into the Palestinian situation.
Before this investigation has even concluded, Israel is on the agenda of the international judiciary again with the accusation of war crimes and genocide after its attack on Palestinian territory in October 2023.
The siege of Gaza itself is a form of genocide.
Collective punishment is a war crime.
And an attack against a civilian infrastructure is not in line with international law.
Rising protests from all over the world have not been enough to stop Israel. Lawyers from all around the world and non-profit organizations have filed a complaint to the International Criminal Court, arguing that Israel's actions amount to the crime of genocide.
The collective punishment of Palestinian civilians through the unlawful use of force by Israel is a war crime. The deliberate denial of medicine, fuel, food, and water to the residents of Gaza is tantamount to genocide.
The first step at the state level was taken by the Republic of South Africa to put Israel's attacks on Palestine on the agenda of the international judiciary in terms of genocide and war crimes.
South Africa is not alone in drawing attention to Israel's genocidal rhetoric against Palestinians in Gaza.
There's a phrase for that. It's called ethnic cleansing. Ask yourself this. Would you accept ethnic cleansing in your state?
I've often stated that the footage that Dr. Weisfeld has, where he's videotaping what's going on in the West Bank, Palestine, that some of the very best playlists, if not like the best playlists of all time that he has, seem to be in 2018. There will be a link in the description to provide you to the source, to the actual playlist. As everything in this particular video will have a link to its source. This is video footage that Dr. Weisfeld provided for us all in Hawara. They're marching against the checkpoint, I believe. This was filmed on May 20, or this was uploaded to the Dr. Weisfeld channel on May 23rd, 2018. Now, I should warn people that if the way that this came out was out of sequence, which I don't think it's out of sequence, but if it is, it's not my fault, because, and I hope Dr. Weisfeld fixes this. If he goes to the playlist, it's an 8-parter. The title claims, like, there's but 2 of these videos claim to be part 5 of 8. However, even though there's 2 videos claiming to be part 5 of 8, these are in fact 8 distinct videos. So maybe Dr. Weisfeld should go and fix that mistake. But this is, I believe, them in the correct order. There will be a link in the description to the playlist. Like, let me just say one more time, Dr. Weisfeld's videos, covering Palestine, some of the best and most action-packed you're going to actually see are the ones that come from 2018. Now, there are action-packed scenes all over the place from different years, and some protests from 2018 are a bit more quieter. But like this is like beyond blockbuster, like, I'm probably using outdated terminology of slang to describe it, but this stuff is gold. So again, this put together playlist that I have for you originates from Dr. Weisfeld's channel. That channel is called Abraham Weisfeld PhD, and these videos, which I've fused together for this video. This came out on May. This was published on May 23rd, 2018. Please do enjoy. Free Palestine till it's backwards.
خلوا الهمة قوية خلوا الهمة قوية خلوا الهمة قوية مية وملح حرية مية وملح حرية مية وملح حرية مية وملح حرية خلوا الهمة قوية خلوا الهمة قوية
يومين الحرية
يومين الحرية
ويا أسير يا بطل يلي جوا الزنازين ويا أسرانا المضربين ويلي جوا الزنازين احنا معاكم منتفضين ويا أسير يا بطل
يا رئيس
تحيتنا العالية للأمعاء الخاوية يا أسرانا احنا معكم بالإضراب احنا معكم يا جماهيرنا الشعبية حيوا أسر الحرية ضيوا ميلح حرية تحية للأمعاء الخاوية تعالوا يا
والأسير خالها حرية وإحنا نطالها والأسير خالها
نزلونا. لا والله ما فيش خاف عليه. احنا يا عمي والله عدي مخدم معود على الطين.
تعالوا هنا تعالوا
خليهم يتجمعوا.
ميوم الانسحاب جيش الموت والارهاب تحيتنا العالية يوسف ضرب
الأمعاء الخاوية
ميومي الاحترامي خلاص يا وقت فهم هسه ببلش تصعيد بالروح بالدم شو بدك انت اللي محل من هنا مش انا
وقف الدوالي بنمشي على الدوالي
وقف يا ابو وقف يا ابو
واقف يا كوتا واقف انت لو تيارو كيف تطلع انت لو تسير
ايش يعني؟
انت لو تسير
انا افضل مغلق مش هنا انت اللي بتعمل هنا مش انا اتقوا صلاح حسانة اتقوا ميومي الاحترامي اتقوا صلاح حسانة تحيتنا العالية اتقوا صلاح حسانة ارحلوا من بلادنا الخاوية تحيتنا العالية اسمع تحيتنا العالية
תוקף אותי!
Hey, hey! Peaceful demonstration.
Shoot me! انت ارحل من هنا! اطلقوا سراح اسرانا! اطلقوا سراح اسرانا! ارحلوا من بلادنا! هذا اللي بقول لك اياه! لما؟ لما؟ الا اسرى في بلاد هنا بزولكم! ليش؟ طخني! هينا!
Peaceful demonstration.
انت مجرم! انت سلاح الأسرى! نفديك يا أسير! بالروح بالدم نفديك يا أسير! بالروح بالدم نفديك يا أسير! مليونين حرية! مليونين حرية! خلوا الهمة قوية! خلوا الهمة قوية! مليونين حرية! مليونين حرية! مليونين حرية! مليونين حرية! ويا أسرانا احنا معكم! يا أسرانا احنا معكم! بالإضراب احنا معكم! بالإضراب احنا معكم! تحية العالية! تحية العالية! للأمعاء الخاونة! تحية العالية! تحية العالية! للأمعاء الخاونة! يا أسرانا احنا معكم!
Peaceful demonstration. Okay, peaceful demonstration. It's a peaceful demonstration. What do you need that for? Wat darfst du das machen? That's the Yiddish. What? This is a Jewish way to be? Du weißt nicht, wie soll ich das sagen, Yid? Der redet nicht kein Yiddish, huh? You don't even know Yiddish. Look at this. What's this for?
Come here. I said to
What's that for? It's a peaceful demonstration. Calm down. Sei nicht fanatic.
כולם ללכת אחורה, אחורה, אחורה. לך לבטה, אחורה. בבקשה, בבקשה, לשם, בבקשה. בבקשה, לשם, לשם. יאללה, לשם, לשם. גוף 4 מטר אחורה, גוף 4 מטר אחורה. עכשיו, גוף 4 מטר אחורה. 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 גוף עכשיו אחורה. תקשיב טוב אתה, תקשיב טוב. אמרתי לך 3 פעמים. גוף עכשיו אחורה. בסדר? גוף עכשיו אחורה גם אתה. גוף אחורה עכשיו אתה.
بالروح بالدم
نفديك يا أسير بالروح بالدم نفديك يا أسير بالروح بالدم نفديك يا أسير نفديك يا أسير نفديك يا أسير
اتركوا سراح اسرانا ارحلوا من بيوتنا
يا اسير يا بطل
جيش الغازي ارحل عنا
جيش الغازي ارحل عنا
انت غريب في موطننا
انت غريب في موطننا
جيش الغازي ارحل عنا
جيش الغازي ارحل عنا
انت غريب في موطننا
انت غريب في موطننا
انسحاب انسحاب
انسحاب انسحاب
شوف
يا محتل ارحل عنا في موطننا يا محتل ارحل عنا يا محتل ارحل عنا انت غريب في موطننا انت غريب في موطننا يلا صوت واحد يا شباب بالروح بالدم نفديك يا اسير 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 بالروح بالدم نفديك يا اسير
عفوا غلام
ان شاء الله يمكن ياهو ونتماشى بقبر واحد بليله واحده
امين يلا ادعي واحنا
يا أسير يا بطل
يا أسير يا بطل
جوعك هز المعتقل
جوعك هز المعتقل
يا أسير يا بطل يا أسير يا بطل
مي وملح حرية
مي وملح حرية
خلوا الهمة قوية
خلوا الهمة قوية
مي وملح حرية
مي وملح حرية
علمناها من زمان
علمناها من زمان
لا ثقة بالأمريكان
لا ثقة بالأمريكان
انسحاب انسحاب
انسحاب انسحاب
جيش الموت والإرهاب
جيش الموت والإرهاب
انسحاب انسحاب
انسحاب انسحاب
جيش الموت والإرهاب
جيش الموت والإرهاب
جيش الغازي
جيش الغازي
انت غريب في موطننا
انت غريب في موطننا
جيش الغازي ارحل عنا
جيش الغازي ارحل عنا
انت غريب في موطننا
انت غريب في موطننا
ما في حل ما في حل
ما في حل ما في حل
الا خروجك يا محتل
الا خروجك يا محتل
ما في حل
ما في حل
الا خروجك يا محتل
الا خروجك يا محتل
وهذا البلد بلدنا
هذه البلد بلدنا
والصهيوني شرفنا
والصهيوني شرفنا
هذا البلد بلدنا
وهذه البلد بلدنا
والصهيوني شرفنا
والصهيوني شرفنا معلش شو صار؟ أسرانا شعلة نار معلش شو صار؟ أسرانا شعلة نار
خلاص يعني لازم
يا أكرم برا برا سكروا تعالوا تعالوا شوي ما حداش يحاجر يا شباب.
لا 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 جايين.
Oh, he's picking up the gas canister gun. Maybe I should have brought the gas mask. Oh, a pebble just was thrown. Okay.
So in this montage video, I make mention of Mexican hip-hop artists, gangsters, who are very well connected with each other, and they stand in solidarity with Palestine. I mentioned Mr. Nickel, and I mentioned that Mr. Nickel had actually saved my life, and how, much to my embarrassment, all these other demarchists know who these people, or at least they know of them through the music, and several of the anarchists as well. So very embarrassed I am that I didn't realize that. But I had met Mr. Nickel, and you know what he said to me when he was helping me get back, because I had gotten severely lost. He said to me, "I won't let anybody fuck with you, Comrade Net." And it's hilarious that I like just how much I'm not always paying attention. But, you know, I'm very grateful if Mr. Nickel ever sees this video. Thank you very much. Much solidarity to you. And, you know, in related music, there's Mr. Capone. This video will now end with a music video from Mr. Capone called Free Palestine. It was published on his channel on October 25th, 2023.
1/3 of the Gaza population of 1,700,000 have been displaced. There is no electricity, no running water, and the law of warfare has been violated. These are war criminals.
Free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Said free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Said free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Said free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. 1948, they invaded a nation. Occupation of Palestine for gains and corporation. Kids and family getting killed every day. Wouldn't our humanity go for the human race? We're too busy working for the devil, funding atrocities for the money. Funny how the media, which is filled with lies, keeping silence of all these war crimes. Listen up, can I tell you this? If they went to your house and did what they did, what would you do? Speaking some truth, strip you from your freedom. Drones flying over you, any day you could die. Your mama cried, you seen your sister buried alive. Bombs in the sky, unjustified homicide. Modern day genocide will falsify with the pretext to occupy. Now don't get me wrong, I ain't a preacher, but ring the alarm. United Nations, working with Satan, demonstrations in every country, we're running out of patience. Raising a kid in this warlike spot, and of course the kids are growing up to look up to Hamas. No jobs, no money, and nothing else to do. Revolution is on, so spread the truth in this capitalistic new world agenda. But stealing people's land, can you remember what they did to Ramallah and the West Bank? White, black, and brown, united we stand, divided we fall to the settlers' wall. Separation barriers, it's the time of this jaw. Revolve, when man loses his sanity. Free Palestine, and now they wanna ban me. Free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Said free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Said free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Said free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes.
Free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with the war crimes. Free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these
free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes. Say, free Gaza, free Palestine. Somebody gotta deal with these war crimes.